Okay, so today, working on Godot again. Back to Godot. Do you know why it's Godot, not Godot, or Godot? It's named after this. Not this book, but the play. Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. It's a strange play. But I had to read this in college, so I was familiar with it. But yeah, I checked on Wikipedia, and it looks like Godot was named after this because we've got two main characters that are waiting for Godot. So they wanted to name the game thing because it's never quite done. They're waiting to add more features and bake it. So anyway, where are we at? So today I decided to add sound, and I wasn't sure what it took to do to add sound. I started researching that and found some information, and it was on Godot 2.0, and I'm on 3.0, and you know what they did in 3.0? They rewrote the audio, so actually, it's not too bad. Down here on the bottom, there's an audio tab, which gives you what they call their bus. You can add buses and stuff like that, and from the buses you can do, I think these are for effects. I'm not going to do any of that because I don't know how to do all that, but basically this is where you can send your sounds to, and to do that you need to have some type of player, and here we have what's called the audio stream player, which if I get myself out of the way, I'll put me there. So over here, the audio stream player, so you can go in and select, and here I have on this one on eliminate wave, so you can go in and set, and all you have to do is do a load, locate your file in your assets. In this case I have mine over here, and you pretty much have it ready to go. You can test it out. That's eliminate wave. And so I also have collide, so you can hear it when enemies collide with each other. Now what I did is I dropped the volume down on these, because when you got 50 of these puppies on it, and each one might trigger itself, and then the other one's going to trigger at the same time, and you get two, so you got like things going on at a time, it can get a little screwy. So let's just keep that a little. It doesn't have to be in your face really loud. Although you get 100 things going or 50 some things going at once, it still gets a little out there. So then to actually get the code to fire, all I have to do is, I already had a function on enemy body entered, and this was originally, I was using this code to try to figure out if the enemy was hit by a laser, and that proved problematic, as I think it has to do with, this is a rigid body. The enemy is a rigid body 2D, and the emitter, which is the laser, or what we're calling, is not. So I don't think it would ever register that. So I'd have to make the emitter a rigid body, and then you'd have enemies bouncing off it. Which I don't want that. I want them to go boom. So I was able to reuse this function just to check, and I can probably comment out all this, or probably eliminate it all, just because it's really just wasting cycles at this point. So we have, and then it's just a matter of taking that object, which I'm calling the ASP2D, which is the audio stream player 2D. So I just put that, and then what I'm calling that function, or what I'm calling that object. So that's how the enemies, that was a really simple way to get the enemies to, when they bounce into each other, which is different from my original game, because the original game they just go right through each other and wouldn't even know that each other exists. So this actually makes it, I think, a little better. let's see where we're at. Also, the game itself. I've been commenting things, so see, I added comments to tell me what each one of those does. Oh yeah. So I had to have some way of knowing that an enemy was eliminated and to play that. So I really couldn't make the sound for the eliminate. Wait, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. I moved the eliminate actually up to the game level because no, not the collide. I'm confusing with collide. It's not collide. It's the eliminate. So when the enemy is eliminated and you want to play a sound of the eliminating, if that enemy is gone, you can't really make the sound dependent upon the enemy because it's not going to be there anymore. So I had to move. I decided to move that up to the game level, and I needed some way to play it. So I added an emitter enemy destroyed signal. So if we go into the emitter, I added a enemy destroyed, and it's just signaling the enemy was destroyed. And then, because the emitter will take out that enemy. So, but I still needed some way to sound off that. Now, that creates another problem in that I may have to also create another new body, which will be probably the explosion object or node, and have that fire off at this point. In which case, I could also have it do the sound. So I may wind up refactoring some of this code. And what else? We have that bounce. The emitter can make a sound. I was having a problem because the emitter was you could if I at the time you could fire and the emitter would not really play the audio because it would fire and fire and fire and fire. And then I decided, it's probably better not to allow you to fire again until the first volley or laser shot is done. So you can't have multiple shots trying to go off at the same time, ending one early and stuff like that. So it makes the game it'll make it a little harder, or so you can't just click as fast as you want and fire and take things out. You'll actually have to fire, wait. So that's actually, I think it makes it a better game that way. So I needed to have a variable, a boolean, say is it emitting, and that way I can say if the mouse is clicked and it's not emitting, or is emitting, I can go ahead and play the laser sound. So now the laser sound will play out completely, and then when with its own timer and itself, or not itself, but anyway, it takes care of that now. So I got all the sounds working that I want so far. I still have to add a down here I have a power shield and a power ring image. This will become another object. This power ring will surround the sphere shooter, and every once in a while you'll be able to hit like a space bar or a right click or something. I haven't decided yet, but when I think the other game, I think it was space bar. But anyway, you hit a button. Might be a 0, I don't know, depends on the keyboard combinations and setup like that. But once you have, once it's okay, so there would be the shield, and the shield will allow you to prevent the enemies from touching you, or if you decide, you can turn it into an offensive weapon because it will last a certain number of seconds. So then you can actually use it to help clear out areas by driving the SpaceShooter around. And one last thing I needed to work on today, So once I got the sound stuff, then I said, well, I still have a little more time. I want to get, let me show you. And let me reduce the audio from the desktop. So if you notice, the SpaceShooter tracks the mouse. Now if I fire, it stays online. But if I fire and move, it still tracks the mouse, which doesn't look right. So let me kill this. Show you. See, the SpaceShooter has the red thing. That should be where the emitter, and if it's emitting the laser, it shouldn't be able to move while doing that. So I needed a way to do that. And originally, I had the player right here. Just use the mouse position, and then I figured out what I call the angle of attack, and then using that with the the radiance to convert to the radiance. Anyway, I can use that to position the sprite for the rotation, but that's a problem in that it always tracks the mouse. But then I had to figure out, okay, if I have this emitter thinking about it, I probably should have made it a child of player, but I'm not that familiar with these node things, so I decided, all right, well, I'll probably have to go back and refactor that, but for now, I said, well, I need to get a way for something else to tell the player whether or not to use the mouse position or the emitter position. And right now, the only thing that can get talk to both of those out at the same time is the game object. So in the player, what I did was, instead of using the mouse position, I created these two exported variables, which I exported up here. And let me move me back in the corner again and make me smaller. So I got that exported, and I wasn't sure that I could get the game to talk to it, but the game, and then I just went into the game and added this code here. For the purpose of showing you that it doesn't track, I just made it use the mouse position to show what it was doing. But what I do here, and let me just go ahead and blast that, and then take out the comments here, and see that because we have a signal being sent from the emitter to the game knows whether or not the laser's on or off. So since it knows the laser's on or not, it can say, hey, when the laser's on, we're going to set your target X and Y coordinates for the target to be the emitter position. Otherwise, it goes out and gets the mouse position and passes that to the player. Then the player takes care of rotating to the position we need it. So once we got that code changed, we can then go boom. And now, if we fire, I can move the mouse while it's firing, and it maintains where it's got to go. So also, if we have the user moving, it will still track the mouse while it moves and continue to track and position itself properly. So it's getting to be more of a game. Of course, I'll probably have to do something with the health to get that to go down, because it only takes 1 point off while when it hits. So, but I think it should probably take more points off if it's going through one of these things. So that's what I got for today. I'll be adding. I'm going to check in to see if there's particle effects for Godot. I'm not sure if there is, and I used some of that on the Java Slick 2D that I did before, so I can get the emitter to look more like a I don't know, glowing thing or something, or a particle beam or something. and then add the indicate the power shield. You do that next too. So I think that'll be it for today. So if you know, go with Godot, or so.